Welcome back to Stipko Live. We're here in New York City. On the phone with us is one of the few people I can look up to. It's 6 foot 900-inch Torsten Voges. Torsten, how are you, my friend?
Yeah. I just heard you saying all these wonderful things about myself.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about you. It's somebody else. No, I'm...
Oh, okay.
No, you are definitely that guy, and you know, we've been friends for a while, and I've always considered you a class act, and I try and only bring class acts onto the show, at least so far, and I'm happy to have you on. You are.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I'm very happy to be there. I have no idea how it is out there, but I try to picture where you're sitting right now. Are you sitting in a studio, or is it like a radio thing? Or?
We are. The CP On Air network has a couple of shows. One of the shows is called Stipko Live, and you know Stipko.
Oh, okay.
He's sitting here talking to you. And when you're in New York City, you'll come in and we'll do it face to face. Last time I saw you, we were in San Francisco doing a photo shoot, and that's actually an old stomping ground, right? That was one of your acting study places, San Francisco?
Yeah. I used to live in San Francisco. I had a great time in the early 80s, which shows that I'm pretty old. And I have to apologize. My English isn't that hot right now because I've just been to Europe for 2 months.
Right.
And I'm slowly trying to adjust my whole system again to the English language, which has never been very easy for me.
Oh, I didn't even perceive an accent, Torsten. I mean,
great. Yeah. That's good. That's why I like you. Know?
Well, you know, you're most popular, at least, you know, if you were to look at your career, your most popular film, of course, The Big Lebowski. We'll talk about that in a second. But since you brought up accents and the thickness of yours, there was a film you did recently with Adam Sandler, and it's called Funny People. And we're going to play a little clip of Funny People now, just a minute or two. And you won't be able to see it, but our viewers can see it, and you'll be able to hear it. And I want to talk to you about an outtake right after we play this little bit.
It's too early to know who's winning the fight, the medicine or the disease.
Did anybody ever tell you have a very scary accent?
You are a very funny man. I enjoy your movies.
And I enjoy all of your movies.
Which movies?
The ones where you try to kill Bruce Willis.
So that scene, you know, many people don't know that scene was not actually you and Adam Sandler and Seth in a doctor's office. Of course, it was a set, and there was a zillion people there, and they were they were barking out commands to you. Tell me a little bit about that, and then you know the outtake I'm setting up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk. We're going to show that after. So set that outtake up for me, would you?
Well, what happened was usually you go on the set and you kind of you hear like action. And then you hear cut. And in this little time frame in between, you do your thing. You know, you say your lines, and you have the other actors say their lines, and it's a very kind of safe environment.
Right.
But with Judd, it's a very different story. He says action, and then you start saying a couple of your lines, and suddenly he screams in, something that you're supposed to say now, or that Adam Sandler is supposed to say, or that Seth Rogen is supposed to say, or whatever. And so... it was like, it took a little, like a couple of takes for me to get used to it, but then it was an enormous amount of fun because it's not predictable at all, and it's like very exciting to have these guys like Adam improvise and come up with these outrageous things. I mean, there was only like very little of that in the movie actually, or in the outtake. But some of the stuff I couldn't even. I mean, I don't know. You probably it's not a cable show. I couldn't tell you the words and the stuff that they said and that they did.
Right. All right. All right. So I want to run this outtake. This is an outtake of that same scene that we just saw that actually came from the trailer. But this is the outtake of the scene with you and Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen, and you're sort of you're getting commands barked off stage from director.
It's Judd Apatow.
Thank you, of course, Apatow. So he's barking off commands to you. So everyone's sort of doing this hybrid improvisation / acting thing, and they're barking out commands to you. So let's roll that clip.
Dolph Lundgren, excellent actor.
Dolph Lundgren, an excellent actor.
No, it's just so darn funny, and I don't know if it was your delivery or your delivery, but certainly your delivery made it great, Torsten.
Thank you. Yeah. It was really a wonderful experience, especially I have to say because of the combination of Adam and Judd. Because there was one of a close-up of me, and usually, or sometimes you have like these big-time actors, they kind of leave and let you just sit there and do your thing.
Right.
But Adam, even though he has been there for, I don't know, hours and hours and days and days and days, and, it's just sitting there and working with me and giving me feedback, in terms of his looks and the way how he looks at me and all that. And that is unbelievably helpful. So he's really, I love this guy. He's really a cool actor.
Right.
And totally underrated. Maybe it's his choice of movie sometimes, but he can be, he's really great. He's a great actor.
Right. Who of all the people that you work with, let's regress a little bit to The Big Lebowski. This was a huge film, and obviously it's become sort of that silent icon flick. Right. Jeff Bridges and John Goodman, and of course you, and there's a few scenes in there that are they're pretty wild, and you made the scenes similar to the Deuce Bigalow stuff, where everyone looks at that and they go, oh my God, that's the same guy. Tell me, you walk down the street, do people recognize you from Funny People or Big Lebowski or maybe, something else?
Well, the funny thing is, lately, suddenly people talk to me and go like, hey, you were in the Big Lebowski, you're so great. I don't look like that at all.
Right.
Never anybody ever recognized me for the Big Lebowski because my hair is kind of scraggly long and in the Big Lebowski it was taken very back and I was really young. If I look at that, I go, oh, wow, LA Sun has really done terrible things to my face. But that happens. Anyhow, so the people usually recognize me from Funny People. But lately, I don't know why they come up to me and go like, hey, you were in the Big Lebowski, you were great in the Big Lebowski.
Right.
So I'm surprised. And then sometimes they go, and and we saw you in Funny People too.
Right.
Actually, when I came back from Germany, I was very lucky that terrible customs guy who was very strict and was a huge line. And whenever he saw somebody young or long-haired or in any kind of way not looking hardcore Republican, he would send them to the dungeons where they look through all your luggage.
Wait, did you say anybody that looked like they weren't hardcore Republicans?
I think I said that. I didn't really mean to, but sometimes it happens. Things like that.
All right.
Anyhow, so that's what happened, and then he asked me to come up there to his desk, and the way how he looked at me, I knew he's going to send me to the dungeon. So then he went, "Are you an actor?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "So were you in Die Hard?"
Of course.
And I laughed. I said, "No, I was in Funny People." And then I kind of counted all the stuff that I've done. And my wife afterwards said I looked like a little schoolboy, with a very strict, evil teacher.
Sure.
But he let me go. I was so relieved. After waiting for 2.5 hours at customs, it never took that long. But that, in terms of me being recognized, being very happy that kind of, well, I don't know if he recognized me, but kind of.
Right. Do you ever get the Alexander Goodenough thing, or is it only the guy from Die Hard thing?
The Die Hard. I think that most people only know the guy from Die Hard, and he's the German, and he looks kind of similar like me, but even though it was like 20 years ago, and I look like he looked like 20 years ago. No, well, not quite, but I don't know how old Goodenough is now, but he must be like 70 or something. So occasionally I get that. But,
right.
But it's nice. Yeah.
Just a quick flash for our viewers and listeners. There is more than one person from Germany, and there is more than one person with a German accent. Just so, in case you see Torsten, don't assume that he's anyone other than himself, okay? right. So I just want to play a little clip from Big Lebowski here, just as a reference piece more than anything else. So give us just a second. We're going to run this now. It's Torsten Voges in The Big Lebowski.
Hey, this is a private residence, man.
Okay, so we're looking at the scene where he's in the dude's having a bath, and you come in and toss the animal into the bathtub, and so on and so forth. Tell me about shooting that. I mean, was there a scene or a particular moment that you remember that was just made the movie for you in your eyes prior to seeing it released?
Oh, I just totally, of course, loved that experience, especially hanging out with all these great actors. And the funny thing is, in the beginning, when I came to the first table read, there was this really kind of young, sort of chubby guy with glasses, and I thought he was like an assistant and some whatever. So
Right.
he's really nice and friendly, talked to me, and goes like, "Oh, you're in the movie too?" "Yeah, I'm in the movie too." And then we sat next to each other. It was Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I didn't know him, of course.
Right.
It was kind of really cool because he's such a great actor.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
But he wasn't as known at that time, I think, even though a little bit, of course, too. And it was great to see, the differences, especially in the table read, between what Jeff Bridges did or John Goodman. John
Right.
Goodman basically had the role there. He was doing exactly what he did in the movie, and brilliantly. I mean, I was so amazed and impressed and thought like, oh, shit, I shouldn't say shit, of course. But how can I match that?
Right.
I mean, he's so good. And then you see Jeff Bridges, and he seemed to be like completely on drugs already. Very kind of kicked back and being in the role. I mean, I'm not saying that he took anything, and I'm sure he didn't, but
Right.
he was so kicked back. And when you see the final movie, it's just so perfect. It's such a great movie. But it was a big flop here in L.A. I mean, not a big flop, but the box office, it didn't do really well, and the L.A. newspapers didn't like Big Lebowski very much. It
Right.
became a cult hit over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of films do that. Sometimes it takes a little while for the wine to cure, as they say.
Right.
So Torsten, you've got this huge sort of repertory experience from working in Germany for so many years. I won't say how long, but it's been oodles of years. You were at one of the biggest repertory companies in Germany before you even came to the U.S. Was it a difficult adjustment? I mean, just now you went back for a couple months. Do you have to readjust? From a social standpoint, a culture shock?
I have to totally. That's a really good question because it's so different. And I mean, why do you see so few German movies here in America? Because there are not that many really good German movies, unfortunately. And it's kind of a mystery a little bit to me why that is. Because you see great Scandinavian movies, there are great French movies, there are great German actors. You can see that in Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz is Australian, but there is August Diehl, who is German, and a bunch of other ones. So I was really proud when I saw these wonderful actors doing their thing.
Right.
But somehow the system in Germany is a tricky system to make good movies, because the producer has to sell his movies not to the audience, but rather to the subsidy committees who finance the movie, and to the network executives.
Right. Let's step back a second, because not everyone understands that system. Here in the U.S., you got to sell it to the box office powers that be, and that may be Nielsen ratings or people going to the actual movie itself. It's a completely different system. Whereas to get a movie made in Germany, tell us about how they have to actually go through a governmental process there.
Right, and here you have to convince people that your movie works. Even an art house movie has to reach the audience that they're aiming at. So there's no excuse if a movie doesn't work. Because if it doesn't work, it was probably not that good. In Germany, it's a little different. An art house movie, if it doesn't reach its audience, maybe the audience has been too stupid. The movie is still beautiful and nice because one person or two really liked it, who are important or whatever. I shouldn't talk so terrible. I mean,
No, it's accurate. It's okay. It's accurate.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's a challenge. But on the other hand, of course, I know a lot of people. My brother is a big producer in Germany who has been very successful with a lot of comedy movies and television series and stuff like that. And there's it's easier for me to get something done over there, because right now I'm writing something and I'm working together with a very well-known German director.
Right.
And it's a story that's a little bit about my Hollywood experiences, because my point of view is a little different than the point of view of most of the people who go to Hollywood from Germany. It's usually very young people in their 20s who have these dreams of becoming big Hollywood stars. And if there's some old guy like me, I also had that big dream. I'm still being here, and now I'm like in my late 40s.
Right.
And so I have a very unique kind of perspective on all that, So I started writing a little bit about it, and then I gave it to a couple of people, and they really were very intrigued. So that's a big fun project, and the idea is to have a book and a movie come out pretty much at the same time, which is a big task, but it's a fun thing to do.
Sure. Okay. Looking at your physicality, looking at your size. I mean, you're 6'7" or 6'8", right?
6'9".
All right, 6'9". Don't got to rub it in. And you've got this fantastic. And I know when you were much younger, you had this sort of boyish look, even though you were statuesque in size. And over the years, as we all sort of change, you have a much more serious and still, a very handsome look, but a much more serious look. And yet, and your training is dramatic, and
Well, I guess I'm still boyish. I mean, it's just an old boyish.
Exactly, but you tend to get a lot of comedy stuff, and I know that you fight that stereotype, that scary look, that lurch thing you fight all the time, and you still wind up in certain movies and things that deal with, other than funny people actually, that deal with your size as part of your your shtick, your thing. Tell me about that. Is that something you embrace, or do you fight that with a passion?
Well, there's a little bit of a challenge with that, because if they're looking for somebody really tall, then they want him to be really huge.
Right.
And because if he's not really huge, you can't really even see that he's very tall. You can't even see how tall I am in the Big Lebowski and any other thing. It's like in Deuce Bigelow, I had like very high heels. I was running around.
Well, you were playing a woman in Deuce Bigelow. So.
Right. So,
Tina.
But then my feet were not big enough, so they had like some other guys' feet, who they used for the foot massage, because Rob Schneider is giving this tall lady a foot massage, and they wanted to have these gigantic feet, and my shoe size is only like 13, and this guy had like 16, I think, or something like that. Really big feet. So what I'm saying is, height could be more of an advantage for me if I would be a little more, like muscular big,
right,
or whatever. But I'm really not.
Right.
So the height doesn't really play as much,
right.
So even if I get cast because of height, eventually that's not really what works. But on the other hand, it works for me well that I'm not that it doesn't look that monstrous as it might sometimes look when I'm in the street and there are all like tiny people around me, like 5 feet tall or whatever.
Well, few people can I speak to and say, God, don't you hate it when every time you get in an elevator, all you see is the tops of heads? But we see that all the time. And it's like, all right, already. I want to get sort of that eye-to-eye look thing going, without having to stand next to a curb.
Right. There was actually a big challenge with the Big Lebowski, because I think they had a very hard time getting us all into the frame.
Right.
In the bathroom scene with Jeff Bridges, because it was on a set and it was really tiny.
Right.
And Roger Deakins had to, I think, completely rearrange the camera to
Sure, well, they're shooting from the floor straight up at that point.
Yeah, right. It was like we had an extra day, I think. I'm not sure if that's really true, but somebody told me that was a huge problem.
Right. All right, Torsten, listen, I only have a couple minutes left, and I want to get one or two more questions in here real quick. So keep your answers short because I want to get them in before we have to go. For a young, talented actor who wants to get in the business and have a career like yours, if they have something special, a physical attribute like their height or their language or something, how would you advise them?
Well, you have to be always very specific about who you are. It's not necessarily enough to just be tall or just have strange something. Or you have to be even specific in that. You have to know who you are. I think that's the most important thing.
Excellent.
And that's true for everybody, regardless if he has some specific physicalities or not.
Excellent. Well, I certainly didn't use the word strange, Torsten. You're one of the nicest guys and a consummate gentleman in a sea of sharks in Hollywood, let me tell you.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
You've been hanging out with a lot of big shot Hollywood stars.
Well,
I think,
I consider you my pal and not them, so thanks, Torsten. And the best to your wife, all right?
Thank you so much, yeah.
All right, thanks for coming on. It's Torsten Voges. If you want to see more, go to torstenvoges.net. That's TorstenVoges.net. And you can, I know he does the occasional tweet and such. This is Stipko Live on the CP On Air Network. Thanks, Torsten.
Thank you. Bye, Aaron.